Following program is for training purposes in TV news education. Some copyrighted material is used and is credited on screen. However, no more was taken than was necessary to tell the story of the event. YBA claims fair use of materials.
You mentioned Kansas losing. They lost at home to Oklahoma State. And Kansas almost lost. This was their first loss at home, although they easily could have lost to Iowa State at home.
Yeah.
What's going on with Kansas?
Just like Syracuse, you might not win your games in the regular season. However, games like Oklahoma State you expect to win, but they might not exactly be, the motivation might not be there, when you're number 2. Yeah, I mean, being number 1, they could have been number 1 if they had won yesterday. But to be honest, number 1, all that matters is that you're number 1 for that time, but it really doesn't matter until you're champions. Kansas definitely has the talent. Ben McLemore has definitely stepped up for them, so Kansas is still a good team. They're not concerned. Even the teams that are going down shouldn't be concerned unless it's in the tournament they're doing this. But at this point in the season, it's middle of the season, it's hard to keep your motivation all season.
Yeah, and Peter, we mentioned about the ACC being very close. BC had dropped a few games, but they came back yesterday and they beat Maryland at home.
No, Clemson.
Or beat Clemson, excuse me. How do you think BC will fare? Do you think they'll get into the tournament?
I think Dylan made a good point. The best team in the ACC in basketball right now is Miami, and they had Miami they had them on the ropes, and they couldn't convert in the final moments of the basketball game. Missed a free throw. He had a freshman on the line, and he missed a second shot that would have sent it into overtime. So Boston College still going through some growing pains, but yesterday was a very good game in terms of what they're doing scheme-wise, and they're slowing the pace of the game down. They're going for the extra pass. And they're frustrating the heck out of opposing teams, which is what they want to do. So I think that they're closer than people think.
Yeah, I think BC. They're 10 and 11, but I think. But last year there was a team that was 500, made the NIT tournament. So if they can win one game this week against Miami or Duke, which I actually think they could, if they win one of those games, I think they have a really good chance of making the NIT. Iowa last year was one game over 500. Made the NIT tournament. So even the NIT for a group with freshmen and sophomore, they still got 2 more years to really develop. So I think with a team of freshmen and sophomores, with a team that could make the NIT, I think that's good for them. And I'm very impressed by the way they're playing yesterday. Beating Clemson, that's a good team, like a middle of the pack ACC team. Yes, they've struggled on the road, but any kind of ACC win. You got also almost beat NC State, almost beat Maryland, almost beat Miami, so definitely a good team. So I think they're definitely way improved by last year. Also beat Providence too early in the season, which was a good win. Beat Virginia Tech, who has the leading scorer. So they've gotten some good wins. And what about their hockey now? So hockey-wise, they struggled a little bit late, but they've had the beaten pot. They beat Vermont on Friday, which was a good win. So BC sports, January wasn't a very good month, but they're off to an excellent start in February.
All right, so that's going to wrap up our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thank you to our special guest, Peter Cronan, for Aman, Dylan, Mike, Jimmy, everyone behind the scenes. I'm Jason. Enjoy the Duper Bowl, everyone.
I developed this over the years. This is a score chart. This is my way of quickly capturing the key events, plays, yards, time of possession, any notes, the key play that led to the score, type of score, the scoring play, and the score at the time. So, and I can show you the finished product here. This is the Maryland game. That's as Boston College is in red, Maryland was in black, for obvious reasons. 6 plays, 60 yards, time of possession 235, 5 consecutive runs, which was a bit of an anomaly at the time. A touchdown, 18 yards, Finch run, 7-0, Boston College, the University of Maryland. Over here is another master statistical sheet where I actually I track penalties, big plays, 20-yard runs or 30-yard passes, giveaways and takeaways, interceptions and fumbles, and this is the aggregate. This is what the Boston College, well, this is what you're looking at here. Is they've given the ball away 17 times, they've taken it away 10 times. Obviously they're -7, which is not good. Sacks, 16 sacks in the season compared to North Carolina State, 26 sacks. Okay, from a statistical perspective, you can draw some conclusions about which team is maybe a better team than the other. Over here, drop passes I consider a key statistic. I track what the drop passes were and who the players were that dropped them. So, you know, and I tend to be a tough grader. I also put in notes here, kind of highlights in this particular game. There's a BC connection. There's 9 coaches on the North Carolina State team actually coached here at Boston College. You know, little things that I can reference during the course of the game if I want to fill. Now when you go inside, you've got, the way this is set up is you get offense, North Carolina State offense, BC defense. You flip the chart, Boston College offense, North Carolina State defense, and it sets up offense, defense, offensive line versus defensive line. I'm looking at it essentially, if I'm looking at it this way, as the offense and defense match up. Now, I can actually speak to, based on where the ball goes on offense, speak to actually players who are at the point of attack and who they're matched up against. If I want to mention, talk about it, for example, their defensive scheme, I have these little bubbles that have little factoids that pertain to the overall storyline that references North Carolina State. But at the same token, Boston College has a storyline, but Boston College is really kind of accumulated knowledge, so I've got a lot of history there, a lot of stuff that I can just draw from memory, so I don't have to write it down. On the other hand, I will, through the course of the season, take current events, current statistics, quotes from coaches, quotes from players, highlight specific top performances of certain players that I can draw upon anytime during the course of the game. So when North Carolina State has the ball, I'm looking at North Carolina State on offense, Boston College on defense. When there's a change of possession, I just flip the chart over here. When there's a big play, when there's a sack, identify who the player was a sack. If there's a turnover, interception, or fumble, a giveaway, or a takeaway, I track these penalties. And these are all. This is a very big picture frame of reference for the course of the ball game. Now, as the game goes on, I have a play chart. So I actually track each specific play. It would be, for example, first down, 20-yard line. That's red, Boston College. And number 28, Roland Finch, has a 4-yard run. So now it's second down at the 24, and I track right through the punt, make little notes on big plays and when they punt, if there's a turnover. And as the game evolves, it's alternate colors, and I can actually begin to look at the statistics in real time on this chart to begin to draw conclusions about what both these teams are doing or not doing that are having a direct effect on